The Illuminati is bullshit. Celebrities, politicians, entrepreneurs, and philanthropists, even your next door neighbor, are all in a cabal, except it's not the Illuminati. They just happen to have more money than you. Secret societies are a target, a way to focus public anger, because if not, chaos and riots would plague the streets. This isn't to say secret societies don't exist, but there is a clear wealth disparity between members and critics. There comes a point where if you have enough money, you can do anything. So why not spend it on some hobby where you can dress up and act out your fraternal fetish? Not to mention the fact that the entire world knows about the Illuminati. Real secret societies are ghosts that don't necessarily need to last forever, but serve to accomplish a particular goal. All of this to say, the Illuminati existed, as do many other so-called secret societies, such as Freemasonry, which has entertained the membership of some of the most prominent 20th century figures, including magician Harry Houdini and everyone's favorite Colonel Sanders. There will always be crazed theorists and doomsday nihilists who blame a certain group or groups for their own shortcomings, whereas the truth is much simpler to find. All you have to do is put in as much effort into seeking the truth than you do believing the conspiracy. First off, the Illuminati is labeled a secret society, an organization whose events, inner systems, and memberships are all deliberately concealed. Wikipedia, the first place people go to get a baseline understanding of a topic, states that intelligence agencies and guerrilla warfare insurgencies are technically not secret societies, because they, quote, maintain a public presence. But so do secret societies. I mean, how else could you explain the Detroit Masonic Temple? Last time I checked, the CIA doesn't have a gargantuan cathedral where they can plan the next coup of a third world country. In any event, the most credible information surrounding these societies, specifically the Illuminati, comes from Hiram College professor Vernon Stauffer, author of New England and the Bavarian Illuminati, as well as René Le Forestier, author of the Bavarian Illuminati and German Freemasonry. As expected, the Illuminati's origins stem from one radical thinker, an 18th century lawyer, philosopher, and professor, Johann Adam Weishaupt. Weishaupt was born on February 6, 1748, in Ingolstadt, Bavaria. Not much is known of his parents, as his father's death when he was 7 left him in the care of his godfather, Johann Adam von Ickstadt. Ickstadt is considered a major proponent for the Enlightenment within Bavaria, who ended up consciously or inadvertently teaching the young Weishaupt on matters concerning philosophy and rationalism. There's no doubt this relationship with his godfather permeated into Weishaupt's adult life, eventually manifesting into what would be known as the Illuminati decades later. As a child, Weishaupt was enrolled at a small Jesuit school in Bavaria, and would later further his education by attending the University of Ingolstadt. He graduated with a doctorate of law, and went on to become a professor of canon law at his alma mater. Weishaupt was a member of the Jesuits for most of his life, and had been educated by their order, but became disillusioned by their teachings, as his political and religious beliefs grew more progressive. According to the laws of the time, the Jesuits weren't even supposed to be there. They retained power at the university, even though in the summer of 1773, Pope Clement XIV issued a papal brief disbanding the Jesuit order. According to Vernon L. Stauffer's New England and the Bavarian Illuminati, the Jesuits made constant attempts to discredit non-clerical staff, especially when course material contained anything liberal or Protestant. Weishaupt slowly but surely became deeply anti-clerical, choosing to spread Enlightenment ideals in defiance of the Catholic Church, at one point turning to the Illuminati's successful counterpart, the Order of Freemasonry. Weishaupt believed Freemasonry held possible answers to as many academic, religious, and social dilemmas, but soon found out he couldn't even gather enough funds to gain admission to a Masonic lodge. Weishaupt ultimately concluded that Freemasonry text was in fact readily available for the public to acquire, thus producing an empty ideology, which left him wanting to find his own answers his own way. Weishaupt would then leave the Jesuit Brotherhood with establishing establishing his very own fraternal order, one that was designed for enlightened thinkers who would encourage a free exchange of ideas. Though unlike veteran cult leaders, Weishaupt couldn't land on a good name, initially starting a small society called the Covenant of Perfectibility, or the Perfectibilists, with 4 other like-minded individuals on May 1st, 1776. These first few members would pledge obeisance to their superior Weishaupt and adopt new names as a form of secrecy. For instance, Weishaupt himself took the name Brother Spartacus, naming himself after the infamous slave leader who led a revolt against Rome. The 4 others, Massenhausen, Bauhof, Mers, and Sutor, became Ajax, Agathorn, Tiberius, and Erasmus Roterdamus, respectively. The Perfectibilists was only a temporary name. Allegedly, Weishaupt contemplated some alternatives, such as the B Order, until, in April of 1778, he settled upon the Owl of Minerva as their symbol, the Illuminatenorden, or Order of the Illuminati. The word Illuminati comes from Latin, Illuminatus, which translates to enlightened. An age of reason was underway, and the Illuminati vowed to release humanity from religious slavery, as well as dismantle any corrupt government institutions. Their main goal was to promote secretive doctrines concerning equality and freedom throughout society. In a way, these could have been beliefs that emboldened the American Revolution, or vice versa. However, the name Illuminati had been used many times before. For example, in the 15th and 16th centuries, it was used among a variety of groups like the Alumbrado, a Spanish mystic group claiming to have exalted intellect. Alumbrado quite literally means the illuminated. Before and during the Age of Reformation or Enlightenment, individuals within such enlightened groups were persecuted by eager church inquisitors. The Catholic Church at one point had 3 popes. Kings were seeking divine authority, while petty dukes and counts fought for their neighbors' land. Change was bound to happen, but it would still take another century or so for ideas of removing monarchies and despots for more rational and democratic processes to take root. As much as Weishaupt may have disliked clerical or monastic life, the Illuminati was similarly organized according to Jesuit structure. Specific procedures were put in place to maintain internal discipline, as well as a system of mutual surveillance based around the Jesuit model. Where there's humans, there's human nature. Almost immediately after its founding, internal disputes began. According to René Le Forestier, Sutor was expelled from the society for indolence, while Massenhausen proved the most active member, recruiting Xavier von Zwack, a former pupil of Weishaupt who was just beginning a substantial administrative career. However, Massenhausen's excitement quickly became a liability for Weishaupt, as he would invite unsavory candidates. Massenhausen would end up leaving the order, but by the fall of 1778, the Illuminati amassed 25+ members in 5 separate cities: Munich, Ingolstadt, Ravensburg, Freysingen, and Eichstätt, codenamed respectively as Athens, Ulysses, Sparta, Thebes, and Erzurum. 25 members may not seem like a lot, because in reality, it isn't. Yet that doesn't mean they lacked determination or sophistication. In fact, it was actually the complete opposite. Illuminati members were separated into 3 major classes: novice, Minerval, and illuminated Minerval. This class or grade system turned out to be considered Weishaupt's very own elaborate network of spies. The favored among Weishaupt's spies would become members of the ruling council, otherwise known as the Areopagus. Essentially, the Illuminati had a senate, a committee that rivaled Weishaupt's authority, but make no mistake, he still held the real power. Next among the members are insinuants. An insinuant is a specific individual within the Illuminati who was permitted to recruit new personnel. They were told to actively seek Christians of good character, while Jews, pagans, women, and clerics were explicitly excluded. The most preferred applicant would be a man aged 18 to 30, who they deemed wealthy and obedient. The Germany History Intersections details 2 2 letters from Adam Weishaupt to Franz Anton von Massenhausen. Apparently, these letters give us a look into Weishaupt's recruiting repertoire. Every day, I think about and apply myself to our great building project. Continue working at your end too, and send along some building blocks. Seek the company of younger people. Observe them, and if you find one who is suitable, take hold of him. Look for clever young people. Our people, especially the first ones, must be engaging, enterprising, intriguing, and capable. We need skillful, hardworking, wealthy, well-behaved, powerful people. Incidentally, a year before the Illuminati's creation, Weishaupt joined a similar underground society in order to expand his own procedural material and have a convenient pool to recruit members from, a society he had previously repudiated, the Order of the Freemasons. In February of 1777, Weishaupt gained admission to the Masonic Lodge Prudence of the Rite of Strict Observance. However, Weishaupt's goal to infiltrate Freemasonry did not go as planned. While undercover, he realized the first 3 Masonic degrees taught at Blue Lodges did not give him adequate information to exploit. René Le Forestier believes Weishaupt had all but given up until the Italian Freemason Abbé Marodi informed Weishaupt's right hand, Zwack, that if they persevered through their tasks, they would eventually learn secrets of old religion and the primitive church. Zwack would go on to convince Weishaupt to foster friendly relations with Freemasonry as a way to obtain their own lodge. For context, a Masonic lodge is the most basic organizational system within Freemasonry, divided into Blue Lodges, Craft Lodges, and Ancient Craft Lodges. This does not include appendant rites like the York or Scottish Rite, which are further degrees a member can pursue after the first 3 basic degrees. If you think of this as a talent tree, once you hit level 3, or Master Mason, you can either choose the Scottish or York tree, each giving different benefits. There are also research lodges, instruction lodges, and mother lodges, also known as Grand Lodges. A Grand Lodge must warrant or charter any new lodge as well as produce a constitution for the minor lodges to follow. The first and most well-known Grand Lodge is the Premier or United Grand Lodge of England. If you've ever heard of the Masons, then you know about their lodges and how seriously they take them. According to their own beliefs, Masons meet as a lodge, not in a lodge. Usually, the phrase is used to indicate the actual chambers where Masons assemble, but in this situation, the term lodge refers to a local chapter of Freemasons who gather as a collective. Luckily for Weishaupt and Zwack, their diligence in studying Freemasonry paid off. They were now able to assemble as a lodge to their heart's content. Technically speaking, they were given the green light upon collecting a warrant from the Grand Lodge of Prussia, which in turn kickstarted the Illuminati. Weishaupt was given the reins to his very own lodge, Theodore of the Good Counsel, founded on March 21st, 1779. But in this instance, Weishaupt's lodge was named after Bavaria's elector, Charles Theodore, thinking he could maybe influence him through flattery. This could have also been a tactic of hiding in plain sight, as Illuminati ideals shared no room for any religious monarchs. By this point, Weishaupt's lodge was swarming with Illuminati members, but was still technically part of Freemasonry. The most important step was to break away from their Grand Lodge. Weishaupt was able to declare his lodge independent by fostering Masonic links with a lodge in Frankfurt, which was affiliated with the premier Grand Lodge of England. After a few handshakes and a couple of dirty dealings, Weishaupt's lodge became independently recognized. He was now able to declare its full independence, but there were still a few more important steps to take, such as making sure every Mason and Minerval's bellies were full. Which is why today's video is sponsored by Factor. Factor makes meeting your nutrition goals easier than ever by delivering fresh, never frozen, dietitian-approved meals right to your doorstep. Their team of gourmet chefs create each meal using only ingredients with integrity to help you feel your best all day long. I personally hate grocery shopping and interrupting my day to decide what to eat or cook. Factor takes all of the guesswork out. If you're like me and value your time and health above all else, Factor makes sure that you always have something nutritious on hand when you need it most. My favorite part about Factor has to be their cold-pressed juices or smoothies. These drinks are some of the most refreshing I've ever had. They're perfect as a snack or even post-workout. Factor is now owned by HelloFresh, and with a wider array of meal plans to choose from, there's something for everyone. Use code Philion50 to get 50% off your first Factor box at the link down below. And thank you to Factor for sponsoring this video. The Illuminati's successes garnered the attention of one very valuable individual, Adolf Freiherr Nige. Adolf was an infamous Freemason known for receiving the highest initiatory grades within his order while he was in his 20s. Upon joining the Freemason rite of strict observance, Adolf immediately began his own plans of reform. However, fellow Freemason Costanzo Marchesi de Costanzo told Nige an order already exists that carries his reforms. Initially, Nige and his associates expressed a strong interest in this subject of progressive philosophy, but soon became disappointed. It would take a personal message from Weishaupt to convince Nige that the Illuminati could be his new home. Nige advanced into an excellent recruiter for the Illuminati, attracting dozens of Masons to join the order as Minervals. At this time, Weishaupt had told Nige and other high-ranking Illuminati that he served, quote, the most serene superiors, an unknown group of powerful people that held authority over the higher degrees of the Illuminati. Nige was highly interested in reaching said degrees, as were the new acolytes he was recruiting, but Weishaupt did not readily share information to them. In January of 1781, Nige wrote to Weishaupt, frustrated by his silence and delay regarding the higher degrees. In fear of losing Nige, a well-trusted and loyal recruiter, Weishaupt came clean, confessing that the quote, superiors and supposed antiquity of the order were all lies. The higher degrees of the Illuminati did not exist. They were never even written. It can be inferred Nige was surprisingly unaffected by this revelation, as he didn't immediately leave the order. In fact, he began to use the Illuminati as a conduit for his own ideas. During internal division, Nige would act as mediator, settling domestic disputes between the Areopagus and Weishaupt. But his true objective was to gain a formal constitution from London, also known as the Premier Grand Lodge. Weishaupt had given no higher direction to Illuminati, and so Nige sought the grandest of lodges for guidance. Weishaupt and other senior officials were content with letting Nige rewrite the 3 degrees for the lodges they controlled. Members gladly swore obedience to the fresh system, and were divided into 3 main classes. The first class consisted of Initiate, Novice, Minerval, and Illuminatus Minor. The second class, Apprentice, Fellow, Master, Illuminatus Major, and Illuminatus Dirigens. The third class, Priest, Prince, Magus, and King. Nige kept recruiting members from Freemasonry into the Illuminati, and by 1782, it had around 300 members. To clarify, the Illuminati at this point is a majority of members within Lodge Theodore. They used Masonic structure as a means to propagate themselves, and it worked. In February of 1782, Weishaupt proposed splitting Lodge Theodore, with the Illuminati going one way and traditional Freemasons in the chapter establishing a new lodge. Unexpectedly, the chapter conceded, and the Illuminati gained entire control of the lodge and chapter. The Illuminati quickly sent letters with many grievances addressed to the Grand Lodge of Prussia on their inability to give any instruction into higher degrees. This allowed the Illuminati to finally, once and for all, gain their full independence. But of course, this led immediately to more internal strife. By July of 1782, an impasse had formed, leading to one of, if not the most important Masonic Congress, in hopes of rectifying mystical and authoritative complaints. This event was called the Convent of Wilhelmsbad, which is still debated hated by Masons and anti-Masons to this day. To strict Masons, this meeting marked the impending doom of the rite of strict observance, and the overnight rise of the rectified Scottish Rite. For anyone who's confused, essentially a few Freemason conventions helped reorganize the dying rite of strict observance into the rectified Scottish Rite. Simply put, a rite is a series of consecutive degrees issued by various Masonic groups or organizations, each of which is governed by its own centralized power. In this case, the rite of strict observance was damned. Masonic delegates at Wilhelmsbad gave greater self-governance to all lodges, resulting in orders beginning to fragment. Lodges were now free to adopt any other rites over the next few years. The convent of Wilhelmsbad is considered a significant turning point because conspiracy theorists and anti-Mason followers believe this meeting was where the Bavarian Illuminati thoroughly infiltrated and finally took control of German Freemasonry. The Illuminati continued to recruit new members, and by 1784, the list rose to around 650. Weishaupt claimed the Illuminati held around 2,500 members, but their numbers are most likely exaggerated. In truth, it's not entirely important how many Illuminati members there were. The whole goal of their order was quality over quantity. The real importance lay with the recruitment of the professional classes, academics, doctors, lawyers, and royalty. For example, Karl August, Grand Duke of Saxe-Weimar-Eisenach, Ernest II, Duke of Saxe-Gotha-Altenburg, and Duke Ferdinand of Brunswick-Wolfenbüttel, as well as many other prominent figures, joined the order. Not everyone liked the Illuminati. There were certainly defectors and notable recruitment failures, which culminated in an open conflict with another deep-rooted secret society, the Rosicrucians. Rosicrucianism is significant because they hold similarities with the Illuminati and may have been instrumental in their downfall. This organization began as a spiritual movement which arose in 17th century Europe and to some extent still exists today. There are Christian-oriented Rosicrucian groups such as the Archaeosophical Society and Masonic Rosicrucian groups such as Societas Rosicruciana. Basically, anything with a rose cross is Rosicrucian. This society heralded itself as an esoteric religious organization, combining occultism with Hermeticism, Jewish mysticism, and Christian Gnosticism. Similar to the Illuminati, the Rosicrucians had a considerable foothold in German Freemasonry, forcing Weishaupt to keep the Illuminati's existence a secret from them. The Rosicrucians believed in conflicting ideals with the Illuminati. For example, they were pro-church and pro-monarchy, a clear adverse to the Illuminati's vision of a rationalist state run by philosophers. Unknowingly, Nige recruited Rosicrucians into the order, which can be credited as the beginning of the end for the Illuminati. After months of sustained attacks, betrayals, and deliberations, the Illuminati was blamed for undermining Christianity and trying to turn Freemasonry into a political system. Even though the Rosicrucians were seeking to ruin the Illuminati, the real complications didn't come from outside, but rather from within. Weishaupt delegated too much authority to Nige by appointing him to create the rituals, and it was time Weishaupt reclaimed this power at all costs. All the while, Nige was truly the one responsible for growing the Illuminati from a small, unimportant society to a major organization. Nige felt his efforts had gone unnoticed and ultimately decided to resign from the order. Weishaupt was now without his greatest recruiter, and things would only get worse. The existence of the secret Illuminati, as well as identities of many of the key members, became widely known due to young followers boastfully speaking of their perceived power and loud criticism of royalty. According to René Le Forestier, the presence of the Illuminati in positions of authority prompted considerable public concern. It turned out that dozens of civic and governmental bodies were run by high-ranking Illuminati. The order was held responsible for various anti-religious publications that appeared in Bavaria at the time, even though this controversy is believed to stem from vengeance or envy for the Illuminati. The Illuminati wasn't entirely innocent. It became apparent that many Illuminati court officials favored their brethren, giving them lighter sentences or amnesty. In fact, most of these positions of power were held by the Jesuits in previous years. Yet, once they were prohibited, the academic and church roles, at least in Ingolstadt, were replaced with Illuminati. The Elector of Bavaria, Charles Theodore, threatened by recent revelations and unprecedented influence of the Illuminati, banned all secret societies with a government edict dated March 2nd, 1785. Weishaupt was forced to flee from Bavaria, while clandestine documents and internal correspondence were seized and subsequently published for public knowledge. For all intents and purposes, the Bavarian Illuminati no longer existed, and for roughly a decade would not be spoken or heard of. As for the Masons, their society prospered in other countries, including the United States, and still holds enough wealth and power to cater massive lodges. Freemasonry and other covert societies would expand, while the Illuminati was scattered and forgotten, but not entirely. In 1797 and 1798, 13 years after the Illuminati was disbanded, Augustin Barruel and John Robison published memoirs illustrating the history of Jacobinism and Proofs of a Conspiracy, respectively. The books claimed to provide proof that the Illuminati survived and was engaged in an ongoing global collusion. For example, according to Barruel and Robison, the French Revolution was encouraged and sustained by the Illuminati. They claimed to know all of this information after infiltrating a Berlin literary society, as well as various Masonic lodges. These publications came to be widely popular, inspiring people from all over to look into this so-called ghost fraternity. Barruel and Robison's claims also made their way across the pond. Reverend Jedediah Morse, an Orthodox minister in New England, can be to thank for why the Illuminati is so well known in America. His speech on May 9th, 1798 became one of the first accounts of the Illuminati to be printed in the US. Other anti-Illuminati authors, like Morse, such as Timothy Dwight, swiftly condemned this fictitious body of conspirators. Either everyone was afraid of the Illuminati, or wanted them eradicated, never to be talked out again. Meanwhile, there was no one to point a finger at. The Illuminati didn't exist, or at least that's what they wanted you to think. As more US publications hinting at the Illuminati's traces were released, public concern grew, and by the 1820s, 30 years since rumors of the Illuminati came to America, the first Third Party of America, founded to fight secret societies, emerged, the Anti-Masonic Party. If you couldn't already guess, this party didn't last very long and achieved very little, considering 14 US presidents were or would be active Freemasons. Where the Illuminati failed, Freemasonry strived. According to the Masons of California website, there are approximately 13,000 Masonic lodges in the United States, with over 320 lodges in California alone. There is a Grand Lodge in every state, even the District of Columbia, which are all independent from one another. There is no central authority figure, so Freemasonry principles and activities tend to vary. In order to, quote, vet each other, a concept called regularity is employed by individual Grand Lodges to decide whether or not to recognize one another. If a Grand Lodge is deemed regular, then official interactions will be facilitated and visitation allowed among members from other jurisdictions. If a Grand Lodge is deemed irregular, their members are ostracized and the lodge as a whole is considered incompatible with principles of Freemasonry. Freemasonry can get so complex that they need a unique symbol, the double staircase, to denote their own internal structure. You could get lost in all the Masonic symbols. The square and compass, commonly accompanied by the letter G, standing for God, the grand architect. Then there's the anchor and ark, a symbol of hope, the blazing star, a sign of God's divinity, as well as the sun's life and light, the gavel, sheaf of corn, beehive, acacia tree, or cable tow used to bind a Masonic candidate to then be removed, symbolizing their freedom. How about the infamous blue slipper, the Masonic shoe, symbolizing a physical confirmation of a spoken deed. Allegedly, in ancient or medieval times, giving someone your shoe was a way of confirming a contract, although it's hard to define how accurate that actually is. But to Freemasons, it doesn't matter. Since Freemasonry's conception, a number of distinct degree systems were established. Some are long dead, while others are still in use today. The Swedish Rite, the York Rite, and the French Rite, ancient and accepted Scottish Rite, ancient and primitive Rite, Rite of Adoption, Rite of Baldwin, and the Rite of Memphis. You would think Freemasonry is the secret society everyone should be worried about, not the Illuminati. There are also a large portion of people who combine them as one and the same. And who could blame them? The Illuminati rode the coattails of Freemasonry, but failed to produce anything long-lasting. Plus, researching this information will have your brain fried from all the esoteric nonsense and adopting aesthetics of secret societies to feel more important than you actually are. The main reason for the Illuminati's whereabouts re-emerging in recent years can pretty much stem from one source: the Illuminatus trilogy. Published in 1975, these satirical science fiction adaptations mix just enough truth with imaginary conspiracies to seem credible. For instance, the title of the first book, Eye in the Pyramid, relates to the Eye of Providence, a mystical Christian symbol which is believed to be derived from an even more ancient symbol, the Egyptian Eye of Horus. Ever since, the Eye of Providence has been falsely believed to be the most well-known insignia of the Illuminati. This is why the Eye of Providence iconography on the dollar bill brings up conspiracies of an underground Illuminati society controlling America. The trilogy's plot follows two police detectives as they look into the assassinations of JFK and Martin Luther King Jr. As you can already imagine, they find a trail suggesting powerful secret societies are behind it all. Essentially, a society called the Discordians wages an eternal war with the Illuminati. There's even an Illuminati pyramid sea monster. The other texts contain numerous references to the Illuminati and their global dominance plans, Gnostic wisdom, and absurd conspiracies. One of the strangest theories is that Adam Weishaupt lived, fled to America, somehow killed George Washington, and stole his identity. You know what? Let's give them this one. They do look oddly similar, except the Illuminatus trilogy is believed to have been inspired by a previous book called The Morning of the Magicians. The preface of the book explains how its goal is to challenge the reader's viewpoints and historic events, to test a reader's cognitive dissonance and critical thinking. That is the same goal of the Illuminatus trilogy, except as time passed, these myths turned into conspiracy. For tinfoil hat enjoyers, the conspiracies were stretched into truth. The most dangerous part of conspiracy theories is that all you need is one sliver of truth to affirm the belief of the entire theory. People hold onto these kernels of truth with their life in an attempt to frame the world in a manner that suits them. For instance, it's true that numerous modern fraternal organizations still use the term Illuminati and claim to hold origins from old Bavarian. Some of these organizations utilize a variant of the word the Illuminati Order, while others, such as Crowley's OTO, include Illuminati as a grade inside their organization's hierarchy. This is prime real estate for conspiracy theorists to base their beliefs off of. Authors like Mark Dice live off of this stuff, ultimately becoming their life's work. If you Google Illuminati website to see if anything's actually out there, the first link you get is the NSA government site, which is a little weird. But then again, Google SEO can easily be manipulated. Heading over to the closest thing there is to an Illuminati website though, we find a phone number that doesn't work and stock photos. I'm pretty sure some of these are just lifted from Freemasonry lodges. If this is the Illuminati, is there really anything to be afraid of? They even have a brief introduction video.
are safe. Help is on the way. Your prosperity is the core objective of our universal design. The path for humanity has spanned throughout ages to ensure the survival and prosperity of the human species.
This is a joke, right? This is the best some Illuminati griefers can come up with. If you click join now, you get the following procedures. And they assume you might have a WhatsApp number because all secret societies communicate via WhatsApp, obviously. It's honestly sad that this is now a part of the Illuminati's legacy. To go from 18th century Enlightenment philosophers to sad online wannabes yearning for a social connection. If you really follow the conspiracy, and I mean really, then you might believe the Illuminati evolved into, or in fact always, was a group of satanic Judaism, a group that is the basis for yet another anti-Semitic theory. For context, in the 17th century, a man named Sabbatai Zevi claimed to be the Jewish Messiah, eventually creating his own denomination with followers to this day, called Sabbatians. Sabbatai inspired the next generation to follow in his footsteps. Sabbatianism evolved, and 50 or so years later, a man named Jacob Frank created Frankism, insisting he was the reincarnation of Sabbatai. Frank went on to allegedly inspire Adam Weishaupt, the Rothschilds, and the Rockefellers. Basically, anyone with money. This true fringe cult, which harnesses the power of secret societies, is called the Luciferian Satanic Illuminati Kabbalist Sabbatian Frankists, or Cult of the All-Seeing Eye. Perhaps this is just a schizophrenic internet troll combining the aesthetics of random cults of old to create a new inflammatory body of esotericism. And yes, those people exist. They tout themselves as the true Illuminati and will gladly sacrifice you for their own world-conquering goals. If only there were actual sketchy societies which exist today that have massive fraternal followings full of powerful people. The real problem isn't the Illuminati, or conspiracies for that matter, but rather the nature of tribalism that forms as a result of these esoteric secret societies. Anyone in a secret society knows those within respect, protect, and benefit one another, whether it be socially, politically, or even financially. When you have groups of people convincing themselves that what they are doing is special, an air of superiority spawns that makes them feel important. They invent song and dance, rituals and rites, costumes and customs, all for the sake of some morality roleplay. These intricate ranks and rites of passage act as a carrot on a stick, keeping their followers on a treadmill of milquetoast ordinariness. The bonds that form between these individuals, at least in their eyes, is similar to the bond of warriors or soldiers. They are all united by a common cause that lasts a lifetime. As we saw with the Bavarian Illuminati, members with sworn loyalty may receive preferential treatment. This does not exclude Freemasons or other groups that undoubtedly exist today from doing the same. In the past, secret societies, although burdened by corruption, acted as a haven for thinkers, a means of promoting free speech, or even heretical ideas. Nowadays, joining a brotherhood or strengthening your social network for some can make life a bit more manageable, as most people are uncomfortable with being alone. The Illuminati happens to be one of the most popular scapegoats in modern culture, because it's easy to write off the unfairness of life as just one big club that you're not a part of. It's necessary to recognize that these nepotistic ties are found in universities, careers, and entertainment. It's nothing new to this world and will never go away. Your best bet is to make friends in all the right places, and perhaps you'll befriend a local mason who teaches you the mysteries of life. You'll become respected, rich, and famous, all for a lawsuit to land in your lap, and a more powerful man ready to evict you. But you have nothing to worry about, because the judge is wearing his blue slippers.